Prince Andrew was arrested and connected to the Epstein matter. And here is the statement from the police. 103, please. In Britain, they're not allowed to identify. They have weird rules about legal stuff. They just say they've opened a misconduct investigation. Here's the statement from the King, Prince's brother. Number 105, please. I've learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew and suspicion of misconduct. What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. In this, as I've said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. Here is a very, very breathless and poor, cell-covered Piers Morgan reacting on Fox and Friends 104, please.
It is an absolute bombshell. I mean, to put this into context, there has been no member of the royal family arrested in my lifetime. I'm 60 years old. If you have to go back centuries to the last time that a member of the British royal family was arrested. And this is a serious matter. If he is convicted of misconduct in public office, then the vast majority of people that receive that kind of conviction end up with a prison sentence, and the maximum sentence is life imprisonment. And this is the king's brother who remains eighth in line to the throne. So this is, like I say, an absolute bombshell, not completely surprising, because I think the tone of the King's statement last week clearly opened the door for the police to make a move.
All right. First of all, those of you concerned about my mic, I've just fixed it, so calm down. And thank you for your help. Second, I'm more than America First. I'm jingoistic, so I don't really care about this. I want to get on to the people in the United States embroiled in the Epstein saga. Melissa, being forward-looking, what are the implications for the overall Epstein story of the prince now being arrested? What are the implications for just the global storyline?
No, I think it shows that if they're willing to go after Prince and formerly Prince Andrew Batten, whatever,
yeah.
If they're willing to arrest him, then no one, except for people in the United States, apparently are off limits. I mean, what I find most interesting about this story and what we've seen around the world is the global implications for the people that are being investigated in foreign countries, whereas in the United States, we don't really see any of that. Really, what we just see is a return to cancel culture and people losing their jobs. So that's what I find the most interesting about this. And does this start to increase pressure on additional investigations into others?
Right. Well, I will just say, Hogan, just respond to Melissa and then jump in. It may be that this guy sold or traded government secrets to Epstein, which would be an actual crime as compared to a lot of people in America who are just losing their jobs, who just did things that were improper or embarrassing.
Well, but I would just put an asterisk on that, which is that's all we know at this point, right? Yeah. We also know that they've held back huge swaths of documents. And so it's just the lack of interest from the American legal system, like DOJ and others, versus around the world, where they seem to be taking this much more seriously.
Yeah. Hogan, implications of Andrew being arrested for the story?
I think there's a ripple effect around the globe, and I share Melissa's skepticism on just how far that goes. But I think here in this country, I think it will become a rallying cry for those who want more justice for these victims and more trials and investigations into the names that have been released via the Epstein files. I think you're going to see a much more significant pressure campaign to say, look, even they over across the pond are arresting members of the royal family. And here we just, we expose it. There's transparency, but no accountability. Where's the accountability? I think it is another log on that fire here at home is where I think it really matters.
I like to communicate with the producers directly rather than by text. Could somebody make this room less than 200 degrees if possible? That'd be excellent. Okay, Hogan Gidley loves the press. It puts him sometimes in bad favor with Team Trump because he likes reporters and he's very friendly. Maybe Hogan's favorite reporter, Hogan, I think I'm right about this. I know you like me, but I think your favorite's Tara Palmieri. Am I right about that?
No.
She's your favorite? No. Here's what she says.
She's been nice enough to me.
Yeah. Here's what she says. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's arrest raises a bigger question. What happens when elite protection finally cracks? The fallout, the power players, and what comes next? That's on her podcast. Here's what comes next here. I'm pretty knowledgeable about the media, and I've covered this story quite closely. I do not understand the coverage in the last 24 hours of Les Wexner. Les Wexner was, there would no be a Jeffrey Epstein without Les Wexner, because Les Wexner made tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars available to this guy. And if you go back and read the coverage up until now, he's issued tiny little denials. This has been going on for 7 years. Or 6 years, people have been writing about this guy, 7 years. He got him his house in New York. He paid him tens of millions of dollars. He gave him access to his world at Victoria's Secret. If you go back and read the stories that have been written about him over the years, though, there's no accusations of any specificity except for giving the guy he turned his money over to him. And all of Wexner's friends said, why did he do this? Why did he give Jeffrey Epstein so much control? But not in a single story that I have seen in the last 7 years does it ever say Wexner went to the island once, okay? But except for that, there's literally nothing that links him to any wrongdoing except the suspicion people had is he must have been involved with Epstein's personal life, and he must have been good friends with him because he cut ties to many people in his life previously and turned it all over to Epstein. Okay, so yesterday, the Democrats on the committee went to Ohio to interview him. Don't know why he got a home visit, but he did. The Republicans only sent staff. Wexner is a massive Republican donor. Okay, and he put out a 3-page statement, which, if it's true, he's one of the greatest victims of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal that doesn't involve attack or sexual misconduct. If the guy's statement is true, he was conned by Jeffrey Epstein and lost a lot of money and a lot of friends and feels hard about it. I'm not saying his statement's true or false. This is a massive character in the Jeffrey Epstein saga. This is a massive thing. This is his long denial. Why didn't he do this denial 7 years ago? I don't know. I'm sorry to make this build up so long, but here's what I'm confused about. Why is this not being covered as a massive story? Why isn't this everywhere? The Epstein story gets covered massively. Hogan, why is this not? I know the Prince happened, but there's barely any coverage of this. Isn't this a massive story?
It's a little weird considering, like you said, a Republican donor, and you'd think the liberal media would be all
yes,
over.
Yes,
but just for a myriad of reasons. But I think there is a something we need to be careful of that we've talked about on the show many times before, and that is there's a distinct difference between the evidence in the files that you knew or were around Jeffrey Epstein as opposed to evidence that you did something wrong. And I think this, or something illegal. In addition, with Les, for example, it's beginning to shed some light on one of the really big unanswered questions of the Jeffrey Epstein saga, which is how he made his money. Like, what was he selling it? And I think a lot of this is the con job that was Jeffrey Epstein, the trafficking, the human trafficking, the child trafficking. It looks as though right now the evidence suggests he trafficked them to himself, right? Other people got women that were overage. He got the underage women.
That's what the evidence currently shows.
But the next question that has to have is, where'd he get his money?
Wexner says in his statement that somebody recommended he hired Epstein to manage his money. Epstein said, no, I don't do that. I'm too busy. I got other things going on. He begged him to do it. He declined. Other people said you should do it. Epstein finally agreed. Wexner cast this as a long con where Epstein played hard to get, and then he just says, I trusted the guy to manage my money, and I turned everything over to him. Melissa, the Democrats on the committee said, he didn't take the fifth, he answered the questions, he said what's in his statement. I had no personal connection to the guy except I went to the island once. And is that possibly, like, do you believe it's possibly true that he is a victim of Jeffrey Epstein rather than a knowing enabler and co-conspirator? Is that possible?
I think it is possible, but look, there have been rumors over the years about their relationship that, like, I don't feel comfortable saying on the show because I don't want to start, alternative theories, but it is possible.
But rumors without any proof.
But rumors without any proof, but also if we're going to sit here and say, is it possible? Like when the Democrats said it defied credulity and there's no way what he was saying was true. It's like, okay, we'll prove it. What documents do you have or what proof do you have that what he's saying wasn't true? The thing I agree with you on is if this was the case all along, why didn't he just say it? I mean, He looks terrible. So much press and the Netflix series and all these different things. Why wouldn't he just forcefully have said it or, said he was going to sue for defamation or something along the way as he sort of receded back? But that would suggest a little bit of credibility in some of, I think, the rumors we've all heard. about him just not wanting to be a player in this story, not necessarily that he was part of a sex
So
ring.
what? Okay, so he testified yesterday behind closed doors. What happens next in this? The Democrats are skeptical. The Republicans didn't show up the staff did, but no members showed up. Comer was getting dental surgery, but there are other members of the committee. What happens next? Do they bring him in and testify on camera, or is that it? Wexner says he's innocent, and that's it.
This is up to the majority, right? And the majority doesn't.
What do you think they're gonna? What do you think they're gonna do?
I think that they don't seem interested in going down this road. He's a huge donor, and it's clear that they have, you can tell who the majority cares about and who they don't.
Right.
And they let the guy do it from home. No members flew out there.
Right.
He's a huge Republican donor. I think if the Democrats do their job, they can use this to reinforce this idea of the Epstein class and who's getting a pass.
Right. Yes.
And so I think
100%.
it can continue to be a political headache. But, I think the Republicans have botched every level of this from the start. So I think they will continue to botch it. The question is, can the Democrats effectively breathe life into it? But I think for Leslie Wexner, I think he's done.
Hogan, leave aside what might happen if Democrats take the majority in the House, because then they can do whatever they want. If between now and November, in the media, in the Justice Department, and in the House investigation, are we done with Wexner?
No.
No. What's the next beat on the Wexner story?
I don't know, but it just seems like once, and this is what's so odd about it, once the media has that bone, they are like a dog with it. Yeah. But I don't know that they've gotten this one yet. So again, I think sooner or later this is going to catch on in some areas of the media, and I think it continues for a while. But I do think House Republicans, if I had to say, should in fact begin some investigations on some of these people, just at the very least, as my cynic mind works, just to take it from Democrats. Go ahead and do it.
Right.
Because if Democrats know they're going to do it.
Including Wexner?
I mean, again, if there's evidence of wrongdoing, yes. You're not just investigating people because they had dinner with the guy or they were in a room with the guy.
But there's two possibilities. His statement is true, in which case it's an extraordinary story of a rich guy for 7 years allowing all these rumors to percolate, and that he was a victim of Jeffrey Epstein, engaged in bad judgment. Or his statement's a complete lie, and it's a massive cover-up by a Republican donor, aided and abetted by Republicans on the committee. Either of those is a massive story. I'm not sure, though, it will continue. Here's someone the majority is interested in, Bill Clinton, who's coming in next week. Again, there's a lot of news going on, but I'm amazed there's not more build-up here. Melissa, if you were to summarize what Bill Clinton and his people say about the nature of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, how would you summarize what the Clinton position is?
That he was somebody who was helpful to the Clintons' charity. He flew on his plane a number of times and he raised money for him, but that he's never been on the island. There was nothing inappropriate, and that he is being dragged, and that once, he's cut off communication, he's part of that pre-post 2006.
Right. Very well said. That's exactly correct in my view. Now, there's a couple things that are mitigating that go beyond the four corners of Melissa's accurate summary of what they say. One is the guy visited the White House during the Clinton years a lot. We don't know that he saw President Clinton. Maybe he was just bringing people in for tours. We don't know, but there's a question there. Here's another question. This was in the New York Post in December. I didn't see this at the time. Somebody sent it to me yesterday to say, in effect, the Clinton relationship is a little deeper than just we used his plane to fly to save babies in Africa. Bill Clinton, according to the New York Post exclusive story from December. Did you guys see this story in December? December 18th? I was on holiday, I think, so I didn't see it. This story says that Bill Clinton demanded that he bring as +1 and +2 Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to the King of Morocco's wedding. Do you guys see this story?
Yeah.
You did? Yeah. Okay. All right. I missed it. Here's the picture of the Bill Clinton and Chelsea, who he brought as his +1. And then I guess Jeffrey and Maxwell were 2 and 3 at the wedding. Again, Hogan, is your suspicion that at this hearing next week, Bill Clinton's going to be compelled, because he says he'll answer every question and not take the fifth, compelled to explain the true contours of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
I mean, look, I think she laid out a pretty good case of what they're going to try and say. I don't know how compelled they're going to be to go any further than that. In fact, you can see the PR campaign starting now, because they do use the word, Melissa, you said that they're going to talk about, they worked with Jeffrey on their charities. They've used the word charities more in the last 2 weeks than they have in quite some time in describing their relationship with Epstein, trying to point out that they're so charitable as a family. I don't know if, in fact, Bill Clinton sitting down and having these conversations is going to do anything to placate Republican, you know, vitriol, if you will, toward the Clintons, having had that build up for decades on our side of the aisle. I don't know that this yields anything, but for the fact, I hope that in between the Lewinsky scandal and now he has learned the definition of is. I don't know that we're going to learn any revelation from him. I think it looks really bad for the Clintons. I think it looks really bad for Bill Clinton. And the thing is, everyone kind of knows Bill Clinton's past and his history and his present with other women. So this is kind of part and parcel with the same narrative everyone already knows about him. So unless there's something illegal here, unless there's some underage something or other or something, he's just another person who liked to be around younger ladies with Jeffrey Epstein.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.